Spakalewada. Yeah, I've been dipping my toes into starting an online journal series. Because I've been wanting to kind of purge my story, purge my pain. I feel like I've done so much growth and healing these past 3 years. It's been really hard. And I feel like the old me was like a piece of ginger. And learning, the ways in which I grew up and the ways in which I was conditioned is like this piece of ginger was like constantly being grated against a cheese grater, but like it's ginger. And so and now I've been able to purge a lot of shame and old beliefs. And at this point, I don't I don't even know if I have a little nub left of the ginger to plant a node and grow more. And I might not even be ginger entirely at all anymore. Um, but I'm home alone today, which is relatively rare. It will become more rare now that I've found a job, but yeah, I'm so tired. And so I wanted to take this time to just tell my story, and maybe you can see a bit of yourself in my story. And I know in my darkest moments, sometimes it was just like a YouTube video of a monkey smiling that got me through that day. And as lame as that sounds, there is something special about the connection that modern technology has offered us. However, it's so paradoxical because it's layered and ingrained with so much natural disconnection. It's like a fake connection, but we are so desperately seeking any sort of connection. And I'll just take what we can get. I was born with the name Vanessa, and it's still my name as of now. I like it. It means butterfly, and I think butterflies are symbolic for me and have been throughout my life. And a butterfly is obviously a caterpillar, and when it makes its cocoon, it liquefies itself completely until it, creates wings underneath the cocoon and all that liquidification, and then it pops out and dries. Um, and the lifespan of the actual butterfly part is quite short. And to be honest, that's what keeps me going. I don't know if it hurts a caterpillar to liquefy, maybe they're probably unconscious, but it's hurt me, and I'm tired, and I would kind of like it if my time as a butterfly would be short. In 2 weeks, I turned 26, which is the age my mother was when she had me. And I was born on the 13th, and so 13 plus 13 is 26. And um, I connect with, hidden angel numbers. My partner, I told them about angel numbers when we met and were friends, and then they were like, okay, kind of like fortune cookie for life. And I busted out laughing. Um, but yeah, seeing angel numbers are kind of like getting a fortune cookie just like randomly in life. Like, oh, 444, completion. Things are going to be changing. That's interesting. 33, the magic of me. I'm just going to cover my toes. My little doggy is over here sleeping on a heat mat. It's interesting. When I'm a relatively quiet person, I'm not good at talking. I never have been, and it used to be a quite big insecurity of mine as I was younger because the way you talk and present yourself to other people, um, in childhood, I was kind of taught that kind of like negates or like creates your value slash intelligence slash worth to the group, depending on how you can be accepted by them. And I grew up quite heavily Mormon. It was an intense upbringing for no reason, and I'm angry about it because it fried my nervous system. Because I am disabled, but I was ableized by my family, culture, and by myself because I didn't want to be an inconvenience for my entire life. And I grew up with 5 siblings, 6 of us total. We were conceived and born as tickets to heaven, not as an actual wanting investment into the future of from our parents. It was more so cash out quickly as you can because this bitch could walk. So, um, and fuck me, man. Like throughout my, I was the third, so technically in the middle, but second eldest daughter, and eldest daughter of my family, my older sister, um, she was just like born somehow already having boundaries in place. And so the way in which she survived through our childhood was to just distance herself, and she basically locked herself in her room like our entire childhood. And she was embarrassed that we had so many siblings in the family, that it was such a large family. Honestly, like, I think the vibe of like, damn, that family kind of looks cultish. I think she was embarrassed by that. And, you know, Mormonism, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter day Saints, is a cult. Like, whether or not you're in it, know someone in it, learning about it, like, it is. That's why it's talked about so often when you're in it. Hey, we're not a cult. People say that, but not us. FLDS, yeah. Maybe those other sectors of Mormonism, yeah, but we don't go with Mormon anymore. We're not a cult. We aren't looking to them anymore in heaven, of course, dear Lord. But on earth, not. But same thing on earth as in heaven, right? God never changes. But the issue is that in all the sectors of Mormonism, polygamist currently or not, it all started out that way. It all started out as a predatory group of men gathering women like cattle, taking them across the country and into the fucking wilderness at the time and killing Native Americans instead of creating a community with them and just controlling and impregnating and these women, like literally like a breed of cattle. And it wasn't even the women that were like, we don't want to be polygamist wives anymore. You know, the women didn't even liberate themselves. It was more the men that was like, okay, it's not going to be worth the investment to keep competing and fighting with the US government. So, we'll tone down on the polygamy in real life, on paper, but don't worry, bishops, leaders, you're gonna be having access to these girls behind closed doors. And their parents aren't gonna be asking no questions because then their salvation gonna be on the line. They ask you any questions, you just bring up their tab and certificate. Temple certificate. Are you worthy? Why are you doubting the leader of the Lord? And so usually, I don't know why I'm talking like this. This is usually just happens in my brain. But, I guess it's easier to make fun of the bitches than be enraged because I am deeply enraged for a lot of things. And, because I grew up one of those bitches who was just so scared. So I was so obedient. Spent my childhood raising children. And I did a pretty shitty job. Like my youngest brother has, like, he's older now. He'll, at this point, it's his responsibility to figure himself out, but I felt so bad that my siblings were neglected. And so I, you know, would do anything my parents asked or didn't ask. But, you know, a 9-year-old isn't gonna raise a child very well. And, I just, my parent, like, so no one in my immediate family is that Mormon anymore. Like, my mom is still, still got Stockholm syndrome. She's traumatized by the idea of denouncing the religion because that's the highest sin of all, worse than murder, worse than fornication. Fornication, they actually say, is like worse than murder too. So I was really scared about being raped as a girl. And so I naturally, I just fawned. You know, it was my nervous system response is fawning. And I guess that goes in line with being just super obedient. I thought that's what it meant to be good because that's what you're told, you know. But they tell you that because that makes you very easy to control, very easy to manipulate. So, flash forward, when I was older, I was very easy to control, very easy to manipulate. Trigger warning, but I got raped in the ass, like, by 2 different people the second person raped me in the ass in my sleep because I told them that I got raped in the ass, and it sparked something like a curiosity in their mind where they wanted to rape my ass. And so they did so while I was asleep. His name is Michael Liu. He lives in El Paso, at least he did at the time. And I say that just because, like, obviously give more attention to the victims, but don't protect the perpetrators, right? So, fuck you, Michael Liu. I know that you raped me in the ass and gaslit me about it. And because I would wake up and it would just, my butt, my asshole would feel, you know, like like a penis was inside my asshole. Sometimes it'd be wet. And my nervous system, I'd start freaking out. I'd be like, I know you were touching my butthole. I know you were touching my butthole. And you'd look me in the eyes. No, I wasn't. I wasn't. That happened in the past. I'm not touching your butthole. That happened in the past. You're freaking out. That's not happening anymore. And so I was like, holy shit, man. I really don't got handle on reality. Fuck. But he actually was raping my asshole. But the reason I was so easily manipulated into my sense of reality is because growing up, my mother had so many mental issues. It was just so obvious to her children and my father that her perception was just like so skewed, right? And I used to grow up and I'd look at her and I'd be like, holy shit, I really hope that when I'm older, my perception of everything is not so skewed and disconnected from the actual reality of what's happening. And instead of helping my mom, she was just judged. And and so my mom is like she's gotten the worst treatment from the Mormons. She's actually the only one of us in the family, 6 kids, 2 parents, immediate family of my growing up, that was actually excommunicated from the Mormon religion because she doesn't really talk about it, but from things that she has said and things that I do know about the trauma she went through as a young girl was because of like queer thoughts, or like, to be honest, I don't like to be honest, I think my mom is at heart, I think she's a lesbian, and I think she would be so much healthier if she allowed herself to be. But um she was friends with she's just super nice. She's the black sheep of her family, of her, family tree, whatever. But it's just kind of hilarious to think about because, like, everyone in my life, like my friends or people who have known her, know her to be very, like, demure, naive, um, soft spoken, like not confrontational, or, doesn't cause trouble, just super nice, soft, nice lady. Maybe that's where I get the fawning from. But in her family, she's the black sheep, and her family, like, fucking hates her. She's the eldest daughter too, but no, I'm not. But my mom is of her family, and so with my older sister and my mom, they do obviously have more challenges. But my issue with my mom, my mother wound, has been being her emotional stronghold. And as a 9 year old who's raising children that aren't theirs, and now looking back at like the strong, like, connection and loyalty, just like unbreakable loyalty I had back then, it's completely shattered now. But back then I can tell that it was simply just a trauma bond. And so I know I'm skipping around, but fall asleep, click off, whatever, I don't know. But another huge reason why I think I just like clicked into place and like being obedient is because my earliest memories are scary, of my dad manhandling or like beating my brother up. Like, not as bad as stories I've heard, but I fucked him up and it fucked me up too. And it just, I really can't with colonial men. Like, my dad he has such colonial ideas of manhood and men, and it's not even as bad as it can be like around here in Texas. He's not like a gunslinger type of style of man, but he is blind to anything that doesn't directly impact his today. Um, Anything else is simply ignored. And man, I get it. 6 kids. Not many people are meant to have that many kids, but like also fuck you for doing it. And so blatantly regretting it, like actionably regretting having your children rather than working through that internally and showing up in more ways than one, which has been, I don't know, but it's a lot to go through. And it's just so annoying because like as a young girl, I was so immediately terrified of my father. And my mom never stood up for us. She was, scared as well. But also, like, fuck you. You're the adult in the situation. Stand up for your kids. But, so it basically got fried into my system. And I was so scared of the idea of father. And so when I was introduced into the concept of Heavenly Father, and he's watching your every move, he knows your every thought, and just the casual air of pedophilia in Mormon churches, like with so much repression, not like so much disconnect from your biological self and your innate healthy needs, disconnect from that turns into very unhealthy ways of navigating sexual impulses. And that bleeds through onto predatory men looking at little girls in church, or, hey, come sit on my lap. I'm just really nice with the kids, right? I love primary kids. But, and so as a young girl, I had so many like intrusive thoughts about like, oh my god, Heavenly Father can see me when I get out of the tub. He's looking at me when I get out of the tub. And just like so like So no personal boundaries at all. I didn't, like, truly, I didn't know that the concept of boundaries existed until I was 22. And I had a personal, existential, spiritual epiphany in which my brain thought of the concept of boundaries and was like, you know what, this is what I need to protect myself. And then, like, literally the next day, I learned the term boundaries and how it's just such a very simple, basic tool of protecting yourself in social spheres, right? So, but people who are in fear, who are obedient, you can get the most out of them when they have the least amount of boundaries. So obviously, I wasn't taught boundaries. I was like being squeezed of my life energy from the religion and my family and the cultural ties I was born into that are colonial and unhealthy. And like just so many layers. You know, it's hard to get into, but I think I was meant to experience the changes in perspective in this life, and I think I was meant to be born into the situation I was because I was so holy in it, and I was so scared of allowing doubt, allowing thought, questioning anything, because even doubt is sin. And so back to like the boundaries, I wasn't even taught that I can control my own thoughts, you know? And so, like a bad thought, that's Satan infiltrating your brain, and you don't have any control over Satan unless you pray to Jesus. Only through the power of Jesus can you have the strength to combat Satan and be stronger than Satan. If you don't have Jesus, Satan will take you down. Can't do anything about it. And so, with those intrusive thoughts of like, oh my God, God is watching me come out of the tub, like, turned into intrusive thoughts of like, I would see an adult and I would, in my brain, would be an image of them naked. And I had so much shame surrounding these intrusive thoughts that I didn't know were tied to like my soul understanding the unhealthy and unsafe situations I was in with casual pedophilia. But instead, I internalized it as so much shame as, oh my God, Satan really has a hold on my brain. And only by kneeling over to this religion and Jesus will I ever, like, not just like cast my family to hell, because Mormonism, they have three heavens and they have an outer darkness, which they say is worse than hell. So, you know, I definitely didn't want, and, you know, with Mormonism too, the, they relate like faith. Every individual has to have enough faith to create a family line, and they relate it to a chain. And don't be the weak link, because then you're going to break the chain, and everyone else after you for future generations and your immediate family, all future generations are just going to be fucked. They're going to go to outer darkness because you knew about the religion and denounced it. If you didn't know about the religion, you'll get a chance in heaven to meet the missionaries. But if you knew and you denounced it, better off just already having been dead. And so, you know, definitely didn't want to do that, especially because I do have a big heart, and I was so. My siblings growing up were so trauma bonded to one another, um, and that's what helped us survive our childhood of casual neglect and stuff. My parents were there, but my mom was so unwell and depressed that she would just like she would sleep, read. She sometimes she would make cookies, but she would never clean or cook dinners. And admittedly so, my dad's like thing is cooking, and this is very like, even now to this day, it's a very patriarchal home. Like it's revolves around him, and so it's hard. He's my dad will get upset because people don't put in their work into the house, but like, if you're doing anything and then he just comes down, he'll be upset if you're in the way, even though like I live here too. I'm just trying to mop. I didn't know you were gonna start cooking ribs at noon, like. But anyways, and so obviously I think over the years my mom just started avoiding that through withdrawal, or not withdrawal like drugs or anything, but just like withdrawal of self. And so, but a large part of why my childhood was so confusing to navigate through was, the neglect, whatever, but like the inconsistency of my parents, the inconsistency of what they taught us to believe, Mormonism, what they did, sneak out at night, sext peach jam photos that like they didn't even try to hide really from the kids. And like as a kid I was like just so confused, and like my brother and I would kind of like giggle like, oh my god, his mom's sending like sex of like peach jam to like some random person in New York, and they sent her chocolates in the mail. Like, does dad know? What? This is like a sin. And like internally we were like freaking out, like, oh my god, we're going to hell. It's up to us to save our family and stay true and faithful. And my brother really took that to heart, and he didn't even leave Mormonism until like a year ago. But yeah, and but I never had all these thoughts. Like my dad ingrained it so much in our heads. So like how good of a childhood we had, and the fact that we were born into the church, born in America. This is the best it gets. And this is the best it gets for real. 26 back here living in a garage, man. I'll get into it, but come on. And that's how I learned that. I mean, obviously, not at that time, but now, I know that privilege hurts everyone, even those who have it. And colonial empires, the US, is fucking terrible. They trash the world, torture the world to create the American life in which here people are so disconnected, done with self. Like they're people in America, I've found, don't even they don't even like their life. They don't even like it. And so why all this violence, all this torture, all this pain? What the fuck? And everything is the same. Or it has connections, collective, individual. And I've learned a lot of connections between my individual journey and the collective journey as well. I've been going through I've been learning a lot, been going through different awakenings at different times, like a lot. I feel like I've already had like 3 lifetimes, like I'm on my fourth, and like that's why I'm like already kind of done. And I see the world, and I'm like, fuck, I don't want to be part of it, but I do want to be part of a different world, and I have to remind myself that my ideation is not unreasonable. I no longer shame myself about it. I no longer necessarily even try to hide it. But you know, I wish people were more comfortable talking about it. I'm comfortable talking about it because I don't want to be here. I would be happy to pass away. And part of the reason I'm recording this is because like I so badly in 2 weeks don't want to be here, but just because like you know I'm turning the age that my mother was when I was born, and like don't want to be here. It would just be so symbolic. But suicide is a solution that comes about typically in a very hyper individualist society. It's a solution for a single individual, and you know, people say I would die for my kid, and then people rebuttal like, okay, will you live for them though? Will you heal? Will you create a better world for them? Will you teach yourself healthy emotional regulation so it can be passed on to them? And, you know, with that said, I recently have been reminding myself. So, you know, I've come through all my personal pain, I've come to find all these collective truths. And so it's easy to die, but will I live for this truth? Will I put in the effort to create a world that I am heartbroken isn't here already? Because if I have these ideals that seem so much either in the minority or oppressed ideals, you know, they're not capitalistic, um, then that's what I need to nurture and help grow. And so, you know, obviously I'm not like, I only secretly want to. Like, I'm not going to. But it's hard not to. And you know, I often think like, oh God, what, you know, that snoring is my dog, Luna. But she's on a heating mat right now. I don't know if you can see. But yeah, I'm not gonna try. It's too bad. I can't. But, ugh, fuck yeah, man, it was crazy. Um, yeah, but so I'm probably gonna record another video. This one's like at about to be at 39, so I'm gonna stop it, but pop back in because I know it's rambling, but fuck it, right? Yeah.